Inside the imperial palace of Rome, the night is quiet in a way that doesn't feel natural, not peaceful, not safe. The kind of quiet that makes every movement louder, every breath sharper. You've walked these halls for years. Same routine, same steps, same man. You pour his wine every night without thinking. Until now, a boy places something in your hands. Just a tablet. Small, ordinary. You almost don't look. But something about the way he found it careless, accidental, pulls your attention in. You read it once. Then again. A list of names. People to be executed at dawn. Your eyes stop on the first line. Your name is there. At the top. Not hidden. Not mistaken. First. For a moment, nothing moves. The palace. The walls. The world around you, it all feels suspended. Because you understand exactly what this means. When that man steps out of his bath and looks at you, he will know. And when he knows, there will be no questions. No second chances. No tomorrow. You have minutes. Not to think. To decide. On the night of December 31st, 192 AD, 3 people inside this palace found themselves in the same position. A list, a deadline, a certainty of death. What they chose to do in those final hours would bring an end to one of the most brutal reigns in Roman history. But that decision didn't begin tonight. It began years earlier, in a world shaped by power, fear, and a man who no longer saw himself as human. Picture a boy inside the imperial palace of Rome, 11 years old. Surrounded by power he doesn't understand but already knows how to use. Marble beneath his feet, gold on every wall, servants who bow before he speaks. The son of Marcus Aurelius, the most respected ruler in the world, a child raised among philosophers, taught discipline, control, restraint. He steps into his bath. The water isn't hot enough. Any child might complain. This one gives an order. The servant responsible is to be thrown into the furnace, burned alive. No hesitation, no doubt, just a problem and a solution. The servants freeze. They know what he is. Not yet emperor, but already dangerous, so they improvise. Lambskins into the fire. The smell fills the corridor, close enough to be real. The boy inhales it, pauses, then sinks deeper into the water, satisfied. In his mind, a man has just died because of him. And what he feels isn't shock, or guilt, or confusion. It's relief. The problem is gone. That moment doesn't change him. It reveals him. The cruelty isn't growing. It's already there, fully formed, waiting. Marcus Aurelius tried to stop it. Philosophers, discipline, war, responsibility, none of it mattered. Because some things can't be taught away. They only need power to show themselves. And when that power finally came, there was no one left to stand between him and what he had always been. When Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD, the last barrier disappeared. The empire passed to his son, 19 years old. No more teachers, no more limits. No one left to soften what had already taken shape. What followed wasn't a transition. It was a release. Commodus did not want to rule Rome. He wanted Rome to revolve around him, not as emperor, as something greater. He believed he was Hercules reborn, not metaphor, not symbol, reality. Statues were reshaped in his image. The Colossus of Nero altered to carry his face. The club, the lion skin, the body of a god. Rome itself began to bend. Names erased, titles rewritten, even time reshaped. The months renamed. The Senate reduced. Everything pointing in one direction. Him. This wasn't rule. It was performance. But belief alone wasn't enough. It had to be seen, proven, repeated. And the place he chose was the arena. He stepped into the sand himself, again and again, hundreds of times. But these weren't fights. They were outcomes decided in advance. Opponents weakened before they ever stood. Wooden weapons, chains, drugs, men designed to lose. And still, every strike was called victory. Every movement, greatness. Because truth didn't matter. Only the image did. And in that arena, surrounded by thousands of eyes, he wasn't fighting. He was teaching Rome what power looked like, and making sure they believed it. The arena wasn't just a stage. It was a system, not built for combat, built for control. Commodus didn't fight alone. He made the entire empire watch. Senators, generals, men who once commanded armies now sitting in silence, not by choice, by order. And they weren't there to observe. They were there to perform. Every reaction rehearsed, every word required. They didn't cheer. They chanted the same phrases, again and again, voices rising in unison, not out of loyalty, but fear, because silence had a cost. If your voice faltered, if your face betrayed you, your name could appear on a list. And people on those lists didn't survive. This was obedience, public, measured, enforced. Day after day, the message didn't change. Power stands in the center. Everyone else responds or disappears. Commodus understood something dangerous. Fear alone fades, but fear turned into spectacle, becomes belief. So he didn't just show violence. He staged it, controlled it, repeated it until it felt normal. Senators who once ruled now clapped on command, smiled on command, lived on command. And in that process, something broke. Not in the arena, in them. Because once you are forced to praise what you know is wrong, and repeat it enough times, it stops feeling forced. It starts to feel true. And when that happens, control no longer needs force. It sustains itself. The arena was only the surface. What happened inside the palace was quieter and worse. Behind those walls, power didn't need an audience. It didn't need applause. It didn't need to pretend. It revealed itself. Hundreds were brought inside. Women, young men, taken from every level of Roman society. It didn't matter who they were before. Inside the palace, identity disappeared. Names meant nothing. Status meant nothing. They existed for one purpose: to be used. Commodus didn't govern. Others ran the empire. He stayed here, in these rooms, surrounded by people who couldn't refuse him. And what happened there wasn't random. It followed a pattern, repeated, controlled. Nights became rituals, not of pleasure, of dominance. He didn't hide it. He watched it, directed it, made sure everyone understood the same thing. Their bodies weren't theirs. Their choices weren't theirs. Nothing was. Power had to be seen, even by those closest to him, men of rank, men of authority, forced to stand exposed, reduced, humiliated in silence while others watched, not for punishment, for demonstration. And then it went further. A blade, not in war, not in justice, in curiosity, cutting into living bodies, watching the blood, studying it, calling it practice, calling it medicine. But everyone in that room knew what it was: control, pushed past every limit. And inside that palace, no one spoke, no one resisted. Because resistance didn't end in defiance. It ended in disappearance. This was power without restraint. No arena, no audience, no performance, just control, complete and constant. Power like this doesn't stay stable. It turns inward, slowly at first, then all at once. What began as control over others became fear of everyone. Commodus no longer saw enemies outside the palace. He saw them everywhere. In the Senate, in his guards, in his own blood. Names began to appear on lists, quietly, then faster. Men taken in the night, doors broken open before dawn. No charges, no trials, just orders. Heads displayed along the roads, bodies left in the river. Entire families erased. Not for what they had done, for what they might do, or for nothing at all. Power had become suspicion, and suspicion had no limit. Even his own family was no longer protected. His sister exiled, then executed. No farewell, no return. The message was clear. Blood meant nothing. Loyalty meant nothing. Nothing stood above fear. And once that line was crossed, there was no way back. Because fear doesn't stop, it spreads. Advisors removed, generals replaced, trusted men eliminated one by one, each decision making the next easier, each execution making the circle smaller, until the only people left were the ones who knew they would be next. Inside the palace, silence changed. It was no longer obedience, it was calculation. Every glance measured, every word chosen, not to serve him, to survive him. By the final year, Rome wasn't being ruled. It was unraveling, quietly, from the inside. The lists kept growing, the circle kept closing, and somewhere inside that palace, 3 names appeared together. Not by chance, by inevitability. And for the first time in years, the system he built faced something it couldn't control. A decision, not made in public, not forced by power, but chosen in silence, and it would end him. Not in the arena, not as a god, but alone. Like every man who believed he couldn't fall, on the night of December 31st, 192 AD, the empire finally turned on itself. Not with an army, not with a rebellion, but with a decision made in silence. The poison was meant to be enough. It wasn't. Commodus's body fought it. Years in the arena had made him stronger than expected. He didn't die, not yet. And in that moment, everything became clear. If he lived, no one in that palace would see the morning. So they finished it. Narcissus entered the room. No crowd, no spectacle, no performance. The man who had stood before 50,000 people as a god lay on the floor, struggling to breathe. For the first time, there was no image to protect, no power to hide behind. Commodus tried to fight. His hands reached out. His strength failed him. It ended quickly. Not in glory, not in legend, in silence. The emperor died as all men do, powerless. And when it was over, Rome did what Rome always did. It erased him. Statues torn down, names removed, titles stripped away. The man who renamed the empire after himself became nothing. But the damage didn't disappear. It stayed. In the people, in what they had seen, in what they had learned to accept. Because power like that is never just about one man. It is about what people tolerate, and what they become when they stop resisting it. Commodus believed he was untouchable. In the end, he couldn't even control how his story ended, and that is always how it breaks. Quietly, and then completely.